Howdy. My name's Robert Williams. This is my wife Suzanne.
Hi.
This is our American tract home. And these are my hot rods, my 34 Ford sedan, my 32 Ford Roadster, all part of the American dream.
Robert Williams grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico, forming his artistic identity while racing hot rods and fighting street thugs. In the 60s, he went to L.A., enrolled in art school, and started his professional career drawing for Big Daddy Roth's hot rod t-shirt empire. He first gained widespread notoriety as a pioneer of the underground comic book movement when he joined Robert Crumb, S. Clay Wilson, and others at the revolutionary Zap Comics in 1969.
This is what you would run into in a psychedelic shop, say in like 1969 or 70. You come in and you'd be confronted with a comic book rack full of these underground comic books. Inside a year of the first underground comic, there was maybe 20, 30 titles on the stand, making it a market, a real market. And then inside 2 years, there was hundreds of them on the market. And they just festered the entire United States, and they were like totally gratuitous and free to do anything they wanted. Sex, political sedition, anything they want would come out in these little comic books. Then something else happened. Then history took another step in the comic book world. There was a guy that came along in the late 70s named Gary Panner. He was now known as the father of punk rock art. He came out with this publication called The Asshole. It was the first Xerox thing. The Asshole caught on real big, and it got to us. It got to the first generation. By this time, we were a little older, and we looked at this young man's thing of scratchy shit. We didn't know what to make of this thing, you know, and he was getting so goddamn much attention. People were worshiping him, and we were just getting older, going down the drain. Our day had come, and his would come and go too. So to kind of mimic him, me and S. Clay Wilson together put together a thing called Yama Yama, the Ugly Head, which is a takeoff on this. So we wanted to show that we could, even with our eyes closed, could secrete something with more style. So we Xeroxed up this fucking ridiculous thing here and just whipped on the motherfucker, man. Just whipped on it, see? Man, you can't get more fucking punk rock looking than this. This thing is just a Madonna of vulgarity, sexual harassment, just nothing but gratuitous violence and murder and sex and cornholing and everything else. Wilson the same way, just nothing but vomiting and, you know, mayhem. And so immediately we got just as much response off this as Gary got off this, see? We were in the group. We had done what we wanted to do. Now, during all this comic book business, me and a few of my compatriots are always painting in a comic book style. I denied myself the access to comics and comic art and looked down my nose at it for years until I realized, well, that's comic book art is like honest human artwork. It's just as valid as any other kind of artwork, and if you go back to the Lascaux caves 30,000 years ago, these were a bunch of cartoonists.
So, then do you have a problem with the way today's art world defines true art?
Well, it's a simple matter. I'm just not accepted in the art world.
As a highbrow artist.
Right. I will probably die of... I've been painting since I was 15 years old, which I've been painting for years and years, 25 years. And I will probably die of some disease related to exposure to pigments and paint. And you can't be more of a fucking artist than that. But I'm not accepted into the art world. I do not do commercial art. That's supposed to be the definition for not being a fine artist, is you don't do commercial art. But that doesn't seem to be good enough to get me a good academic standing. But basically, what the art world is today is a clique of individuals that are trying to sell decorations to bank lobby. You know, trying to get expensive foundations, wealthy foundations to invest in this art that's good for nothing but putting it in bank lobbies. It's not obtrusive, it causes no problem. Nice warm colors. You know, there's a border, there's a thing about ugly and distastefulness. It's really an aesthetic in itself, and it's always got to be played. It's a card that's always got to be played. I try to play the ugliest colors in the deck. I try to put pink against dark green, you know. Purple against orange, things that hurt. When you look at them and go, whoa, whoa. And I'll just play that card, because, you know, man, that feeling, that cold feeling you get, you know, you can just feel it like someone slipping an ice cube up your ass. There's something there, you know, there's an energy there, and it's got to be played.
But that's gotten you into trouble, right?
Yeah, a tremendous amount of problems. Here, here's a couple of posters from my 2 shows in New York here. See, this is at the Psychedelic Solution. Here's a naked lady and laying out on a hamburger, see? And then here's this rat fink-looking monster drooling over her. Here's another one, just about the same material. Rat fink-looking goofy guys drooling over a woman laying out on food. One woman was posting this up in a group, and she was attacked by this man that bloodied her nose and says, "This is not art." I'm very supportive of the women's movements and the feminists. I think women have been getting like a bad shake for 30,000 years, and women should have equal rights. There's no question in my mind about that. But I have a compulsion to paint naked ladies. And I feel that I wonder, how could anyone be an artist and use their hands and graphically reproduce something and not have a temptation to draw a naked lady? Now, I say this as a pure statement. I'm not saying this demeaningly. I seriously believe that all aesthetics and the dynamics of beauty, all of this starts with examining woman. And it outshines even the most dynamic forces of nature. Comparing a woman's ass to the Orion Nebula, to the mighty mountains, to the great grandeurs of the world. You know, a woman's ass will stand up against anything, any mass, any dynamics. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay, that's my defense. I rest my case. Hot rodding was a gigantic cultural thing. Everyone had this feeling of innovation with mechanics. With it come a new style of graphics. There was a fella in 1953 named Von Dutch who started pinstriping on cars, making these abstract lines and wild psychedelic flames and shit. Von Dutch would paint surrealist, blobby-looking anthropomorphic creatures that were obviously copies of Salvador Dali and Artsy Basheff surrealism. Well, this was like 57, 58. Well, Ed Big Daddy Roth was building cars, and he did pinstriping, and he saw these monsters, and he was good with his hands. So he would do these in airbrush on T-shirts. These T-shirts got all over the country, and they won the hearts of hundreds of thousands of young people. This was so widespread that it's eventually going to affect the art world. My place in this evolution was the use of suggested chrome in graphics. I pioneered that. Everything that I've described in this hot rod world of art and graphics and candy color and all this stuff was never really accepted by the art world, because the art world had its snobby, blobby, gobby stuff that it was supporting. The other side of the world was comic books and this lowbrow art. The garbage, the good stuff, the sensational movie posters, the ridiculous monster banners at the sideshows with freaks. So, what's happening at 80 miles an hour is these two worlds are running on parallel tracks. That's what's happening right now. As a painter, I worked very hard, and I've studied painting as long as I can remember. But as the big scheme of things, the big scheme of painters, I'm actually nobody. But when you compare me to what's going on now, the use of imagination and dexterity, and to really put to use the tricks that have been evolved over 30,000 years since Lascaux caves. You take all this and you figure what these people that are artists, to call themselves artists now, what they've put to use, compared to what I'm doing, I look like fucking Titian.